Three takes, not me. Two takes if you lucky. First take, stop me. Four takes, that's true. Three takes, not me. Two takes if you lucky. First take, you got me.
And it is here, baby. We are finally back. The Basement League Plus, the Cobb and Dash show, is back for the first time since, I think, about December 2023, I think. So it was the first show of the new year, I believe. No new owners. So, yeah, we're back. I'm excited. I know we were supposed to get on here about an hour ago, but I was dealing with some stuff. So, yeah. Cobb, I know we see each other a lot, but it's fantastic to see you on the BL Plus airwaves.
Yeah, I have to tell you, when I logged in to start the show, automatically seeing this background come back was fantastic. That was the first real taste of being fully back. So I'm ready to rock.
Yeah, we got so much going on this year. The drafts, of course, in 6 days. So this time next week, we will have pretty much our teams will be ready to rock this time in 6 days. Everyone will know who everyone has. Obviously, some new changes to the year. We guys voted last year, and I don't think there's any changes to be made this upcoming draft. I don't think anyone's really had anything they want to talk about or even vote on. But 19 rounds, not 20 rounds this year. There will be positional IDP, so 3 IDP, but positional. So you got D-line, you got linebacker, you got DB. And one other change, last year we love the draft. We always love the draft. We love how long it takes. But last year we heard a lot of people complaining about how long it did take. People didn't trust the timer. That was myself last year. But so this year we got an actual timer that we're going to put up on the wall next to the draft board. And pretty much all you got to do is dial it to a minute. So you put your thing up, then you go dial it to minute 30, and then that's there you go. And then you start the thing, and then the next person picks, they go reset the timer. So it's pretty much on the person drafting. So there's no one person's got to be the timer person. It's whoever's drafting gets to put it up. I'll do the first one just since I'm the commish. I'll do one for Cobb's first pick of the draft. But then after that, Cobb will adjust to 1 minute 30. I think we do 2 minutes for the first 10 rounds, and then a minute and a half for the last 9. But we can discuss that at the draft. We can vote on that at least. But yeah, any comment on the changes? The clock that we have for the draft.
Well, first for the new rule changes, I'm excited about. I think those were 2 things that I suggested, and they went through, which was pretty surprising. But I've come up with good ideas in the past for this league, and I'm hoping these follow suit. I think it'll solve a lot of the issues that people were having, specific with like large roster sizes and benches, holding a lot of players that shouldn't be there. But yeah, no, overall excited. The timer is going to be exciting. I think it's always fun when we introduce a new aspect to the draft, and just makes it more engaging, something to look forward to. I'm sure there'll be some mess ups and screw ups, but I think it'll be fun. Good addition.
I'm not surprised that what you suggested passed. Usually people look at me to see what's Dash voting on, then they vote against the opposite of what I do. So I'm not surprised that I voted against both of them. So that happened. Yeah, actually, no. I think I was in for positional IDP. I wasn't in for the 20 rounds as well. Yeah, I wasn't in for that.
But and hey, maybe we increase it back to 20, make it even 20. But we'll see. We'll see how the season goes.
Maybe. What are we even basing it on? Just trying to get me blue ball me a little bit on the 20 rounds. But yeah, so we're happy everyone. We have one person live right now, so I'm happy whoever that is. Please comment so we know who you are. Just so the Cobb and Dash show, the Bathhouse keeper analysis breakdown after dark. Very edgy name we wanted to go for. We wanted to add a little element to this year's keeper show. But nonetheless, we'll begin. So Cobb, we're going to go, I think we're going to go for draft. Do you want to pull the draft board up? So what we'll do is we'll do the draft board, and we'll go through each team's keepers. So there we go. Cool. Yeah. So we'll go from left to right. Cobb, do you want to break down yours? I know usually when we do a matchup, we usually the other person does it. So I guess I'll do yours. Is that
Cool.
okay? And then you go
Yeah.
Alex, I'll go Jack, you go Yags, I go Tasia, you go ZB, I go Roden, you go ZT, I go Stu, you go Adam. Interesting. We
Mhm.
get this. Okay. Yeah, we'll just flip flop each other's. That's it.
Yeah, it's fine. And
Okay.
then, so you want to look at the draft board and then go to the keepers, or you want to just go straight to keepers?
I think we'll just look at this and kind of just do a little bit of both. Look at your keepers and look at your draft, like just kind of your overall thing here. Yeah, let's begin. We got a comment here. We got wow, look at that. Let's do this here. I'm excited to be in the bathhouse. Let's wash up, boys. Scrub a dub dub, baby. I love it. Okay, so we're gonna go with Cobbs here. So Cobb, obviously, he's the pancake king for Cobb since he did pancake in another league. He voted to do a fast food challenge. Well, the league voted for it, and he still is yet to do it. He's waiting until our flag football season is completed. But yeah, Cobb will be the first one doing the fast food challenge, and of course, since we are sponsored by IHOP, we're going to be going back to the pancake challenge next year. We're not going to be doing the flopping of challenges. We really want everyone to go to our sponsor, give them some money because they do a lot for the show, and it's almost pancake season time, pumpkin pancake season time. We'll get to that later on the show to plug IHOP, of course. But anyway, so Cobb, Pancake King last year or this coming season. He's still rolling with Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave, two guys that he was really high on last year. Garrett Wilson, for the quarterback situation that he had, he did put up some decent numbers. Olave was kind of a target hog, but really never showed much for his targets last year. He got a lot. I had him in another league. He was kind of a bust. So I do see what Cobb's keeping the young guys together, at least for this year, to see how it works. If Olave kind of sheds the bed again with Derek Carr, I could see Cobb going away from that going into next year. But off the bat, I like the youth that he has. And then Joe Burrow. Now, Cobb said he was never going to keep a quarterback again after Trevor Lawrence did what he did to him, and he's going with Russell Wilson, and he's going with Joe Burrow, guy who's been pretty injury prone in his career, a guy who is at least misses at least 2 games a year, pretty much. Obviously, when he plays, he's great, but it's staying on the field factor. Now, I don't know what's going to happen with him. I don't know what's going to happen in Cincinnati if he does get hurt again, but you got the Burrow, you got Olave, and you got Garrett Wilson. You got your first 3 round picks. So you have 2 first round picks and the first 3 round picks. So I mean, yeah, Cobb's team should be one of the best teams in the league by the time the draft is over. But again, the parity in this league is pretty slim. Right? I mean, everyone's pretty right there with each other. But I like Cobb's team, and I like where it can be because you look at guys like Bijan Robinson, you look at guys like Saquon Barkley. I mean, you go either one of those guys at the pick number 1, and then you could maybe go the other one if Alex doesn't go with one of those guys. Marvin Harrison Jr. is there, Travis Etienne, Derrick Henry, a lot of guys. So you could go. When the fact you have 2 receivers, you're going to go running back obviously with your first one, and then you can kind of go running back. You go tight end, you go receiver. You can go anywhere you want there. So I really like the skeleton of what we could see with your squad going into the 2024 season. What are your thoughts on your keepers and where your positions are in the draft?
Yeah, no, I'm excited about it. I think last year was a rough one. There were a lot of injuries, a lot of disappointments overall. Like I think I still had a pretty solid squad. I wasn't getting the wins that I needed, and some teams that were much worse were somehow sneaking out some wins. So just an unfortunate season. Didn't want to shake up too much, but just because of that, like those seasons happen. A year before that, I was in the finals. A year before that, I was back-to-back champs. So I'm really thinking this is where I can show my ability to bounce back quick. Rebuild it wasn't even really a rebuild. So I'm hoping I get back to where I belong at the top. I'm really excited for these first 2 picks. Last offseason when Paul, our former owner, offered me a future first. I didn't think this team was going to be good, so I ate that up, and I was expecting like 105, 106. It ended up being 103. It was really close to being a back-to-back, like 101, 102. That would have been incredible. But yeah, we'll see where it goes. I'm really excited about that. I'll have my full roster by round 3, which is pretty sweet. I had to make a trade with our current champion, Hotch, because I didn't have my 7th-round pick to keep Wilson. So as much I love the back-to-back picks that you get, like being in last sucks. But when you're at the tail ends, getting those back-to-backs and being able to control some keeper value is obviously really big. So overall, yeah, no, I think it's all about execution at this point. Nothing was a given. I think I'll be one of the top teams, but as we've seen, anything can happen.
100%. Yeah, and that's the thing. Your team wasn't. I remember when we did predictions every week. I was like picking your team, and it was like your team wasn't like the Pancake King. I think you barely got Pancake King at any of the Pancake King weekly rankings, and you were the guy at the end. Yeah, I don't know. That's fantasy for you. Okay, so you go number 1. Number 2 is Alex. Talk to us about Alex's team, where you think he's going to go, his draft situation, his keepers, and all that stuff.
Yeah, Alex is in a interesting situation. I think his third keeper was up in the air for a while. I didn't think people were wondering if he was going to go Tank Dell, if he was going to make a move for someone, if he was going to maybe keep Bijan, even though he had 102. Like I could have seen him going a lot of different ways. I think he had Josh Jacobs too, but I think he has a pretty good squad with Stroud and Tank Dell. Like that's a potential future stack for a long time if they keep looking like they have been. Obviously, I was a big Nico Collins guy, who is now on Roden's team. But I do think that offense is great. So I think having Stroud and Tank Dell looked good in the preseason game. So I mean, I think it'll be interesting to see. And then obviously he made the move for Jonathan Taylor. So like it's always a plus when you can go into the draft having your first 3-round picks available and still having a top running back. Like that's pretty hard to come by. Running backs with good keeper values are kind of hard to come by nowadays. So I know Alex was happy with that trade that he got Jonathan Taylor. And then, overall, I mean, Alex always seems to be in this position where he going into the draft on paper, he looks good. I think coming out of the draft, he should look good as well, but haven't really seen the execution yet. So I'm really interested to see what he does at 102. I've heard it might be Marvin Harrison. I've heard it might be Saquon. Can't really go wrong. I'll take whichever of those two he doesn't take happily. Maybe we'll see what I do actually. Yeah, I don't know. I think he's got a QB, he's got a wide receiver, he's got a running back, so he's pretty flexible. So I think Alex. It's surprising to see him 102 here. Like again, we said like he typically seems on paper at the draft to be one of the better teams, but just doesn't come to fruition or it hasn't yet. So we'll see.
Yeah, some might say he likes to overthink things, and he looks too much into it. I mean, everyone's received a trade by Alex in this league, and you see those the paragraphs and novels that he sends. He tends to overthink things, whether it's for you or against you or just in general. I did hear from a pretty reliable source, might be the source himself, that last night before midnight struck, with the keepers locked in, there was a trade in place between two owners, Alex and Jack, regarding Tank Dell and Isaiah Pacheco, a framework around those two. There was a flip involved, and trade never went through because Alex didn't want to give up more than just a flip. Jack wanted a little bit more on top of Tank Dell for Pacheco. Pacheco 5th round tenor is pretty good for a bell cow. So it tells you how going into the season, Alex is still not 100% sold on Tank Dell, even though he's keeping him. But he's not sold in the stack, even though the stack looked pretty good Thursday night when they played, or Friday night. Or yeah, I think it was yesterday, actually. So Jack, Lil J. So Jack Louie, as Cobb mentioned, took over Paul Perga-Beasley's team. Paul quit during the season last year. Jack stepped right in. Maybe one of the best storylines going into this season. Stu and I go to Hotch's wedding, who became the champion of the league. Go to Hotch's wedding. I'm in line at the open bar. I sat next to Jack during the wedding. I didn't really know Jack. I always heard about Jack, Morgan's sister, Morgan's little brother, his sister, who is married to an acquaintance of mine. And I was sitting with him. He sort of asked me questions about the basement leagues. He's heard so much about it. And I'm like, yeah. He was like, have you ever had an openings? I'd love to be in. This was Saturday night. Sunday, the next day, Stu and I drive back. There was a 1:00 game. It was after the 4:00 game. So I got those texts from him, I think, or Paul. I think Paul got dominated because someone went off against him and he was really upset or something. So he's like, hey man, I'm out. This is my last year in the league. I'm tired of bums going off against me, and it's I'm just done. This league, no one likes to trade, which is I've been in a million fantasy leagues. I've never seen a league that trades more than this league. And it's meaningless trades too. We'll trade. This league will trade about anything. We'll trade you a 17th for fucking your 2 years into the future, 19th. Okay, this league will trade about anything. So to one of the complaints to be that this league doesn't trade enough is just so dumb. Anyway, Paul ends up. I end up texting Jack right away that night, say, hey, you want to take over this team? Send him Paul's team. He said, yes, I'd love to. Okay. Paul pays for this year's draft because Paul already traded a bunch of picks in this draft, hence Cobb having the first over here. So Jack is playing this year. He played the end of last year for free, and he's playing this year for free because of the future picks that Paul traded in this year's draft. So Jack's playing with house money. Literally, the where that phrase comes from is house money. He's playing with it. And so we got Devon Achane, Isaiah Pacheco, and Mark Andrews. 3 solid keepers. Solid. Mark Andrews, one of the best tight ends. A guy who's great. However, gets injured a lot. Misses a lot of time, and that's something he's gonna have to deal with. Isaiah Pacheco, I love bell cow. He changed the Chiefs' offense last year, and I think he's great. 5th round tender too. It's such a fucking steal. So I love Isaiah Pacheco in the 5th round spot. There's a few owners who actually wanted Pacheco to come back into the draft. They were hoping that Jack would have kept Jalen Hurts, so Pacheco would have gone back, and he would have been a first-round pick by a few of the teams in the first round. I know that for sure. And then A-Chain. Now, I know we're in a league that loves the fucking rookies, and where we love the sophomore guys. A-Chain had plenty of games where we went off last year. But my hesitation with A-Chain, they brought back Mostert. They drafted another running back. My hesitation with Mostert with A-Chain is the fact that he got 7 touches per game last year. Yes, he scored almost every game, but he only had 7 to 10 touches a game, and it's can you buy a guy like that? I don't know. Long term wise, I don't know, but he's a 7th round pick, so you have time to fill in your team to that point. But I'm not the biggest A-Chain fan. I know a lot of you guys are A-Chain fans, but I'm not. But yeah, I'm excited to see what Jack can do with the team that Paul put forth for him. And I did like the fact that Jack didn't really make any trades. He saw 3 guys on his team. He was like, you know what? I like the guys I have. I'm going to stick with them. Smart. Very smart by Jack. But I'm excited to see Lil J. I'm rooting for him. He's probably my gonna be my MIP this year, my most improved player. Yeah. So, God, what do you think about Lil J?
Yeah. Obviously, unfortunate that he walked into a team without a first-round pick. But I think he's in a good spot. I think clean draft board outside of that. Which is nice. We saw a new owner last year come in, the Ags, which had a terrible draft board. So I think Jack really got fortunate here. So I'm interested to see how he plays. I've never been in a league with him before. Was talking some trades with him a little bit ago. Didn't really get anywhere. But he's in part of the Hatchet Road and crew. I think they talk plenty of sports and football. So I'm sure. He'll be successul. I'm excited to see, first-year owners don't typically do super well. So I'm interested to see, because he did have a good chunk of the year last year to get ready and get acclimated to the league. But this is going to be his first draft, and I'm excited to see how he does. So overall schemes, I agree with the Andrews thing. Checker's great. A-Chain, I'm more of a fan of than you are, but that's also because I have him in another league. But he's an exciting guy. Low commitment, and like you said, we've seen some owners come in and try and make a huge deal, or so we've seen defenses getting kept by new owners before. So this is good. This is a good start. But yeah, overall, I think it's solid. Nothing that blows me out of the water, but we'll see how he drafts.
Yeah, he's a good kid too. Young. I think probably the youngest player in the draft pool. And by the way, interesting point on the new owners not really doing well. So we had ZB and Yaglu, first time owners in the league last year. Neither made the playoffs. Tasia, new owner the year before, didn't make the playoffs. It's a pretty consistent trend. I know technically he's not a new owner because he took over Paul's team last year, but this is his first year, so maybe he stops the trend here. Maybe he becomes the first owner to make the playoffs in that first full year. So we'll see. All right, now we're gonna go to our guy. Kyle, take it away, buddy.
Yeah, this one, we talked to him and joined last year. I think there was a lot of question marks on whether or not he'd be a good owner. And at the very least, he's active, and I think that's what we want to see. We want to see someone that's involved, invested in this league, and he had a rough slate or rough cards dealt to him. He didn't have his first 4 rounds of picks or something like that. It was ridiculous. He had some decent keepers, but he made some questionable moves that we think helped Hotch out in the long run. It was kind of a first year owner mistake thing, but I think he's in a pretty good setup now. He has Justin Jefferson, with probably one of the best keepers, I would say, in the league. Obviously, we'll see how that offense looks with the new QB situation, but I'm not super worried about Justin Jefferson. He still should be super valuable. And then he's going with a new stack. We are now, it's funny, because he took over Barry's team, and now we're right back to the GB stackers with Jordan Love and Romeo Doubs. So it might be something in the water with this team. I think Love did better than most people thought. I think Love was the reason that Yags was not the Pancake King. Got him at least 1 win, maybe 2. And then he decided to make a trade, the first ever 3-team trade, in basically plus history, and got Doubs out of that, getting rid of Devontae Adams, which some people, thought he could have gotten a little more from, but he's in with the old, or out with the old, in with the new. And I think he's just excited to actually be a part of this draft, especially early on. So I know he was running out of names at the last draft, so I hope he comes more prepared this year. But overall, I think it was a decent showing, and he did get last. So that's all we could really hope for what he had coming in.
I forgot he was running out of names. That's good. That's funny. I like where he's going with it. It's funny that he's going from Barry went from the GB stackers of Rodgers and Adams to him to the Yaglu now. It's literally like they're literally going, and some franchises no quarterbacks, like the Green Bay Packers literally went from Favre to Rodgers to Love. And the stackers here, they go from Rodgers to going to Love, really following the same trend that the GB Packers started. So you gotta love that. But yeah, I do think the trade helped Hotch last year. So Tyreek Hill did help him win last year. But then he traded Justin Jefferson in the process, and that's for long-term wise. Hotch was trying to get Justin Jefferson back, but that wasn't happening. We went to bullshit trade back stuff. But yeah, Justin Jefferson, Love, great. Romeo Doubs, I know some people were kind of knocking him at the time of the trade, but everything at training camp showing that Doubs is the guy over there. He's tearing it up over there. If you guys do play, I know most of us play in other fantasy leagues, but Romeo Doubs, the guy to get if you can in another league. But I like what Yags is building here. He finally has a clean slate. He'll finally be able to enjoy the draft. Last year, he couldn't really enjoy the first 4 rounds of the draft, so I'm glad he can this year. And I think he's got multiple picks within the first 4 rounds too. Because he got 4 from ZB, right? In the Adams trade.
Yep. Yeah. No, he should. He has a decent amount of picks the first couple rounds.
Yeah. So he should. Yeah, he should enjoy this draft much more. Last year was a free draft for a reason. This year, he went on a limb on himself, and he's going in for the first time. Excited to see Yags. I think Yags is a potential shot, depending on how he does in the draft, to make the playoffs. I like the skeleton of his team. All right, so we're going to go to Tasia. All right. So Tasia made a big splash to start off the year. So one of the first trades of the year was like a day later after Hotch won the championship. Hotch traded his entire team to Tasia for CeeDee Lamb. I mean, I think he could have gotten a lot more than CeeDee Lamb, but he just traded CeeDee Lamb for Jonathan Taylor, Breece Hall, Tyreek Hill. And Taja's keeping Tyreek Hill and Breece Hall, and he ended up
trading.
Who's his third? Oh, and he kept, what's his name? McBride.
Trey McBride, yeah.
Trey McBride. So I like Tyreek Hill. I mean, I was the one who had him as the 20th round tender, so obviously I love him. It sucked that he beat me in the championship last year, but Trey McBride, I know people love him. The experts love Trey McBride. I'm not a big Trey McBride guy. I know there's a few guys in our league who actually are big fans of McBride. I'm not so much. It's like, yeah. Brees Hall, great. Only knocked that second round pick. However, if Brees Hall goes back to the draft pool, Brees Hall is probably top 3. It's probably vying for the top 3 with Bijan, Saquon, and Brees Hall. So it's one of those things. Yes, a second round pick, but Brees Hall could have a really big year. But another guy who's been a kind of questionable guy, like as far as injuries every week, and always nagging injuries. But I like what Taja's got. I like that he's got pretty much his first 4 rounds. Besides the second round pick, he's got his draft there. He's got tight end done already. He doesn't have to worry about that. He can just go balls deep into receiver or running back the entire draft. So I like what he's got going here. I mean, this is a team that almost made the playoffs last year. And I'm still, to me, it's kind of crazy he did not make the playoffs last year having Dak and CeeDee Lamb. I mean, that stack was unreal last year, and he didn't make the playoffs, which is kind of crazy. And also, too, this is a guy who named his team name the Dallas, the Dallas Stackers Club, and the Dallas Stackers Club. Both those guys are gone from his team. He went new team name and full new rebrand. He went a rebuild with that team with Tyreek, Brees Hall, and Trey McBride. I like where he can be. Taja's a good owner. I think Taja could be another playoff team. Like I'm gonna say it's probably every team, but I think most of these teams can be, unless they fuck up the draft, they're going to be viable for a playoff spot next year. So only 6 teams make it. However, I like a lot of these teams. So, yeah, I think Taja's got a good outline of a skeleton of a squad.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that, I mean, we talked about this the other day. Everyone has, like, keepers across the board are pretty good this year. There's no one that's like you're really scratching your head and you're like, oh, like you're keeping this person, or like, I don't know. Everyone seems solid. So, and obviously Taja's one of those guys. Another person that has 3 different positions as keepers, which is good. So he has a lot of flexibility in the draft. Doesn't really have to force himself to draft any position particularly in the first few rounds. And I think, Taja's been on the verge of being kind of a breakout team in this league, I think. And I think this might be the year that happens. Obviously, all comes down to the draft, but with Brees, Tyreek, and Trey McBride, I think he's in a great position to do that, and he's in a solid draft position as well. So excited to see what he does.
And let's not forget that there's been recent turnover over the last few years. This is CP's team. That does not look like CP's team. It's definitely not CP's team anymore, and that's a good thing. If anyone knows how CP drafted, it's like the polar opposite of moves made with Taja versus what CP was doing at the end of his tenure in the BL Plus. So Kyle, take us away with ZB, our man from the West Coast, our newly no longer a bachelor, ZB, who's coming in this year, and some might be saying there might be a curse there with guys who are married. But on the other hand, might not be a curse because Hotch just won the championship freshly after getting married. So I think we might have a kind of a different kind of curse. It could be a positive curse where getting married wins you a chip. We'll see.
Ooh. It's like the opposite of the Stu election years. Bad for Stu. We'll see about that. But congrats to ZB. Obviously, the wedding looked great. Congratulations. So obviously happy to see these things happen with their owners. He was a guy that obviously came in fresh last year. I think he was one that me, along with others, were questioning his keeper choices. But we're right back to him because he had James Cook and Rachaad White last year's keepers, and they're being kept again. And I think it's a good foundation for him. He made the move for Devonta Adams again. So one of the other owners in that 3-team trade. We love seeing, especially new owners, being a part of these monumental moments in the league. This one was a 3-team trade. I was shocked when I saw ZB and not ZT in this trade, because we know ZT has a tendency to love to do firsts in this league. So that was surprising. But yeah, no, overall, I mean, ZB, very clean draft board. Probably right behind Stu and Adam with the cleanest draft boards on the coming into this draft. And, some people don't like that. Some people want to see a little more activity going on, but I give ZB the pass because he was part of that 3-team trade. And he is still newer, and he's just happy with his guys. So, I mean, James Cook I don't know. I don't really know how Buffalo's going to look this year. I really like that's one of the teams I have the biggest question marks about. But James Cook looks great. Obviously, he's not what I would call a workhorse because he's on the smaller side. He's electric. Rashad White surprised me. I thought he was a bum, but he was very very valuable, especially in the passing game. And that was where a lot of question marks we had with him. And Devontae Adams, I mean, Raiders suck, but they'll keep peppering him with targets, and he's a 20-time header, so there's really not much to hate there. Another guy that has a lot of flexibility doesn't necessarily need to go wide receiver early. And he has all of his early round picks open, so I'm excited to see what he builds around his team. And I don't think he'll be at the draft this year, but it was nice seeing him last year there, and I hope we see him again in the future. So.
Yeah, we've come to our first owner in the draft selection here, who is not going to be the draft. So ZB, Roden, and A. Millie, those three who are coming up here on the list, will not be at the draft. I got to say, this is year 2 since taking over Ruben's team. James Cook, Rashad White, man, Ruben's solid draft picks here, man. Like, that's when an owner leaves a good foundation on the way out. I'm not a big James Cook fan. I'm just gonna I was not a fan last year. I love Rashad White. I think that was a great keep. I didn't think what he did last year was going to happen, but I mean, he's a fucking badass, dude. And so I love the Rashad White keep. I love the tender that Rashad White has. I love the Devontae Adams keep because yes, he's getting older, but he's still last round pick, and he's got plenty of time to find out another guy and draft another guy. But yes, I think ZB, another guy, if he can shore up that running back spot and get another filler in case James Cook is a bum, I think he definitely has a shot to be a playoff contending team next year. I mean, he was close. I mean, ZB and Tasia are both like right there at that last spot, and they were all fighting for it. Because wait, it was a Hodge. Yeah, he was the last person out in. That's crazy. So, yeah, I think ZB's got a promising future in this league and this season for sure. Yeah. So, all right. So, we're going to go Dave, my guy Dave, who just like, man, I love this kid so much. So, I hope he doesn't get mad when I just kind of skewer what he's been up to. So, Roden, I mean, another guy who just kind of flip-flopped his keepers compared to what we saw last year. He went with the Buffalo Bills stack. He had Diggs and Josh Allen. Obviously, didn't work for him. He didn't make the playoffs. But he's still keeping Josh Allen, which I'm happy he did. He traded a lot for him, so I'm glad he's keeping Josh Allen. Nico Collins, I'm not big on when you keep a number 2 receiver. That's just me. Jamar Chase, great. I'm glad he kind of pillaged Hodge's team to get that guy. So all 3 of the keepers came from Hodge's team. A lot of people are saying that Roden's become Hodge's minor league team. Some people are likening him to my version of Barry back in the day when I used to, Barry and I used to work on some amicable trades. Some said I fleeced him a lot, which I don't think I did, but nonetheless, a lot of people say that. And so Roden's got to ante up at some point here. I don't know if it's this year. I don't know if it's going to be next year. But Roden's got to come in and win at some point here because every year he seems like he's restarting his process with his keepers. The only guy he's got coming into this year is Josh Allen, and he traded a lot to get him. He had Josh Allen originally, and then he traded a lot to get him back. And it's like, okay, I don't know what we're doing here. But he's got the first 3 rounds of the draft, and he's got Josh Allen, top 2 fantasy quarterback. He's got Jamar Chase when he plays, and when Burrow plays, he's a top 5 receiver in the league. Nico Collins, I know he just got a big contract. Tank Dell seems like it's Stroud's guy, but Nico Collins is like the 1B there. So I would say Dell's 1A, Tank Collins 1B. And he's a late enough tender, so that's solid there. But I want him to win at some point because I just don't like that every offseason we come in and it's like Roden, trade with Hodge, 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 trade with Hodge. I mean, he's pretty much bankrolling Hodge's future as far as giving him fucking draft picks in the future. And it's fucking wild that every year it's the same old shit. And a lot of people are getting pissed off about it, about him trading with Hodge. Not Roden's trades, but the consistently trading with Hodge. And I know it's like, oh, well, no one's sending any offers out there. Yeah, there's 10 other owners in the league who send you solid trades. and have good assets too. Because Hodge isn't the only one who has assets. Everyone's got assets they can trade and players they can trade. But nonetheless, I do like his team. I'm not a Nico Collins fan. I just think that's the one that he could have got. He could have done much better out there. There's plenty of other guys I saw who are much better than Nico Collins, better value. But I like Josh Allen. I like Chase, and I like his first 3-round picks. So Road could easily build a championship contending team with having Chase and Allen. I like that. I don't like the trade with Hodge all the time, and I don't like the Nico Collins keep. That's the only two things I have to say. But I love what Roden does. I love what Roden's built with his team with Chase and Allen. So that I do like. So, what are your thoughts on Dave?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I was a Nico Collins fan. He came from me. I was considering keeping him, and then traded him Hodge. And then, like an hour later, maybe, I got notified that Roden him came through with a big deal. And felt a little slighted. I think it was part of it started getting in the group being like what's going on here? Like, I don't know. Like, there's other owners in the league, and then seeing like Nico. Like, I think we just swapped Nico for Joe Burrow, but then I see Nico go for like a lot, honestly, like a lot more than I thought he would ever go for. And that's where like questions sort of rising, like, is Roden just gonna trade with Hodge all the time, or is he gonna talk to some of the other owners? Obviously, like, I could have done some reaching out as well, but I know Hodge and him like talk a lot, so it's kind of have that free trading opportunity, I guess. I don't know, but that rubbed me a little bit. I felt a little slighted after that. I think everyone was like, "What the fuck just happened there?" But overall, I do like Roden's team. I like, again, like you said, I do like what Roden ends up putting together with his roster. He's usually pretty competitive. I know I guess he was pancaking recently, but I think with the Josh Allen, Nico, again, you're not a Nico fan. I am a Nico fan. I think he does have the shot to be the 1A, not just the 1B, because he is a more traditional, like, big body receiver. And he looked great at the end of the season and also in playoffs. Granted, I know Tank Dell was not there. And like you said, Jamar Chase, like, kind of down year, but still had a good year last year. I'm excited. And like you said, like, we keep bringing this up because we know it's so important, but having the clean, like, first few rounds, having those first few rounds open, especially with those owners that might have some question marks around them, like that's where they come in big. And unfortunately, like, Roden won't be at the draft this year. He was always fun to have around in the draft, but excited to see what he puts together. And I think, like you said, like, has a very solid foundation. So I think he'll be in good shape.
Yeah, and another thing people were upset about. You brought it up, and a lot of people also said it too. Thought it was funny that you had put on the trading block, and Nico Collins was on the trading block. You never. Yeah. He could have reached out to you too, and it almost seems like Hodge saw that. Was, hey, if I got Nico Collins, what would you give me for him? And then it was like, okay. I mean, like, cut out the middleman, just go straight to the guy who has Nico Collins, not like the Hodge has to do the trading for you. And so. And it's like you're not. There's some guys in the league who are non-responsive, like, at least for a couple hours or a day. You're not one of those guys, so that's what kind of rubbed me off the wrong way. And
I'm very willing to trade. I love trading with people. Just gotta talk to me.
Yeah, and Hodge Cobb won't bite, guys. You guys can give him a call. He's the co-host for a reason. Okay, so next is our guy Z Tizzle. We're gonna call him by Z Tizzle. He's got some. Did I tell you? I don't know if I told you. So he got a gig. Like, I'll tell you more offline, but he got a gig. We can't call him by his full name now because he feels unethical playing fantasy sports while being an official. So, I'll talk to you more about that. But he wants to be referred by as Z Tizzle, so people can't connect him back to being ZT, the guy ZT. I'm not gonna say his full name, but that's what I was requested that. So, for anybody watching, we're gonna refer to ZT as Z Tizzle now, not his actual name.
Okay. Okay. What? Let's go ahead and look at his team. So this guy, Z Tizzle, he is very much a guy that plans for the future and never the current year. And I'm interested to see where he goes this year. He has Gibbs, Amon-Ra, St. Brown. He's all in on the Lions offense this year. Paid off pretty well last year. He was a pretty tough out. It was a team that people did not want to face. But you know, people were raising some questions of keeping a first round guy like Gibbs. But ZT did have the luxury of having two first rounders. Again, kind of going back to him planning for the future, he got this first rounder last year, I think, because he's always like, you float a first future pick for ZT, he's going to accept your deal. Like that's just it. But with that being said, this is one of those years that like you see how clean his draft board looks here. But look, he's got all these picks in the middle. You see that he doesn't have a lot of late picks. He's going to be one of the first people done with the draft. So I think that's maybe this is the year that he finally cashes in. He's been riding the Lamar Jackson train for a while, and maybe this is the year. I think Lamar Jackson has been wanting to see some hardware in this league. I know Z Tizzle has been wanting to see some hardware this year, and I think again one of the guys he has three different positions as keeper. I do like Gibbs. I do like St. Brown. St. Brown could be. He should be top three receiver. Gibbs could just as well be a top 5 running back pretty easily. Very exciting offense. And Lamar Jackson's Lamar Jackson. Like when you have that rushing upside on top of, he obviously doesn't throw as much. And with this league, we do get passing bonuses. So Lamar doesn't get that as much, but he makes up for his rushing. So I think ZT is in prime spot to contend this year. I wouldn't be surprised if we're coming out of the draft. If he drafts well, seeing him as the top 3 team coming out of the draft, honestly. So I'm liking what he has so far.
It's a bold take. You're very you sleep on ZT quite often, so it's a pretty bold take for you to do that.
I like taking shots at ZT because he's a fun one to take shots at. But because he does follow a formula of kind of always planning for next year. It's I'm hoping this is the year that it actually happens.
I mean, look, he's keeping a first-round running back, which I know he's got 2 picks in the first round, but some would say it's pretty stupid of him to keep a first-round running back. However, some could say it's also he likes he's going with the home run hitters right off the bat, and he wants to he's keeping a guy that he has. And I'll say he's going heavy with the Detroit Lions. First-round pick. He's got the first, so he's keeping Gibbs. He's got a first. He's got a second, and then no third. He still's got a lot of picks in the mid rounds. Like he's got Taja's, the Taja's entire mid round of the draft. I don't know how that came about, but Jesus. But yeah, I do like it. I do like ZT's squad. I'm hoping. I've been saying this for the last 2 years, but if he doesn't make the playoffs, or if he's one and done like he was last year, and not starting an inactive player on Black Friday. Was it Black Friday? It was when was that?
It was an IDP.
His IDP, yeah. He started an inactive IDP player, a guy who was.
He started. What's his name? Eagles linebacker now was on the Colts. Shaq Leonard.
Yes. And he was inactive.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I think he would have won too if he started anybody. A guy just played crazy. But a lot of people are saying that it's time for ZT to rebuild, to get rid of Lamar Jackson. People have been saying it for a long time. I've been saying it for a long time, and hopefully, if he doesn't win this year, if I were him, I'd trade as much as you can, get as much as you can for Lamar Jackson. Somebody in the league will pay up for Lamar Jackson. I mean, he doesn't get the passing bonuses, but he gets the fucking rushing bonuses a few times a year. So. Yeah, I'm not high on ZT. I see a lot of picks in the mid round. I don't trust his draft draft strategy. I don't like his draft picks, and I don't trust it. I just don't think. I think he's becoming like if Bill Belichick never won, I think that's like ZT. Like that's ZT right now. ZT is Bill Belichick as like last year, but if ZT never had a title, if Belichick never had a title, and that's what I think ZT is now. And Bill Belichick without a title, which is pretty bad, to be quite honest with you. What do you think about that? What do you think of that comparison?
It's a good one.
It's pretty good. Just kind of out of touch, like not a good drafter, just like, yeah. But that was Z Tizzle. Okay, so we're going to our next guy. Our guy Stu, who's flying in for the draft. So we're going to give him props and kudos, and he's on the live chat right now. He's flying in for the draft. we every year we see a lot of guys do this. Stu's been consistent in the last few years doing that. Well, he didn't fly in last year. He was already he was living here at the time. But this year he moved back to Iowa for the year. I think he's moving back next year, so he'll be here for the draft next year. So that's key. Speaking to fruition, because I'm hearing some good things on the ground right now. That Sarah, his girlfriend, is got some legs going on a job. It's gonna be back in DC next year. So election season might be bad fantasy season for him, but I think he's getting his head on straight. He's coming back here for next year's draft. He's gonna be living here next year for next year's draft. Excited about that. But let's go back to fantasy for a second here. Sam Laporta, Stu came to the draft last year and knocked it out of the park. I mean, I don't know if did he pick up Puka or did he draft him?
He picked him up, I think.
Okay. So Laporta, he drafted. That was a great pick. I love that pick. Hotch dogged it at the draft. I remember that distinctly. Puka, great pickup. And then the trade to get Kyron Williams from Paul. Paul threw Kyron Williams in. The guy quit the league because he couldn't, he said no one wanted to trade. But dude, you're throwing in Kyron Williams in trades like a fucking idiot. And Stu stole that away with Puka and Kyron Williams and Sam Laporta. All guys who were all the way at the end of the draft. I mean, look at that draft where that's clean, man. The guy's made no moves this year as far as trades. He doesn't have to. I know it's also weird too. Sometimes, like when you are used to making deals and you like don't need to make deals, it's tough to not do something. You just want to make some kind of splash or get like a pick. He didn't. He stuck to his guns. He did what he had to do. And Laporta, tight end, running back, receiver. He can go anywhere he wants to go in this draft. Stu is one of 3 guys, I believe, who didn't keep a quarterback. So that's something to keep in mind in the early rounds there. He's one of a few guys. So Tage is one that didn't. Stu's one that did not. Adam didn't. So that's 3 right there. Gosh, who else? I think that's pretty much it. I think everyone kept a quarterback. Oh, and Jack. So four of the 12 owners did not keep a quarterback, which is, yes, it's something to be said there as far as the early rounds. And he's got all the early round picks. He doesn't have any additional picks. He just has his own picks. So, I mean, it's pretty much going to be hit chalk the entire day for Stu. But I love what he's got going here. I think he's got a chance to make another playoff run, maybe a deep one. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I think we talking about sometimes people don't like the clean draft board because that shows that you're kind of inactive as an owner. But in this case with Stu, like, why wouldn't you? You have you have top positional players across the board, and they're late rounds. Like this is some, and they're all young, and like Stu is primed for a run. And I think a lot of people were pulling for Stu in the playoffs last year. They were really hoping that he might be a guy that pulled out a W or at least made a fight because he was. I think he just seemed like a crowd favorite. But maybe I'm misremembering. I don't know. But I don't know. I'm excited for Stu's draft. If I was him, I would try and maybe push up and like get some early round picks, just like to really set up that foundation around these 3 guys instead of just. I think he'll be fine regardless. Obviously, we saw last year he was great at drafting, but it could be hard to repeat that performance. Like I would be going into this thinking you can easily do that, and I think you really have a shot this year. I think Stu very well should be in the playoffs pretty easily, and like kind of in the same vein. Honestly, I mean I like his keepers more than ZT. I think he might have the best keepers honestly with rounds and talent wise. Like
no doubt.
Stu should be ready to rock. And I think he should go in. I don't know. I think he should go in. I think he can sit and like keep the clean draft board, but this is the kind of thing that gets me like antsy and wants to see him get some higher picks. But if everything goes right, he wins this year. I mean, he's set up for the future, man. He's set up for a long time.
A fun fact about Stu, he only lost to Hotch by 4 points in the semifinals. Had he won that matchup, he would have won the championship because I didn't score shit in the championship, so he would have beaten the shit. He would have beaten me or Hotch in the championship based on his score.
It's tragic, man.
I know.
And that's after he got away with beating ZT too.
I know. Can you imagine? It's crazy.
Would have been special.
And I think did he do that with Joe Flacco as his quarterback?
Something like that. It was crazy.
I mean, I'm looking at it now. Yeah, Flacco. Yeah, Flacco to 33 in the semifinals against Hodge.
Jesus.
Yeah, Flacco to 33, Puka at 30. Yeah, I mean, Stu. Yeah, Stu's a good owner, man. I mean,
He is. He is. I want to see him. I want to win, obviously, but Sue would be one that I'd be happy to see finally get back into that championship spotlight. So.
Yeah, Stu. I mean, election season, we know his record's not the best during election season, but he's not really in politics anymore. He's in politics, but he's not in directly in it anymore. So maybe that'll help. I know he's feeling good about the election. I think he thinks Kamala Harris has a real shot to win the whole thing. So maybe symbolism, Stu win the whole thing. Kamala Harris wins it. I don't know. Guess we're gonna find out here a couple months. So we got A. Millie, who is not gonna be at the draft. So we're going from a guy who's flying for the draft to a guy who's flying out of here on draft day. But that's why we're doing the draft so early, because A. Millie was gonna be at a wedding in the afternoon. So So Cobb, take us away with that. A. Millie's team.
Yeah, Adam typically coming to the drafts has the cleanest draft board. He's not very active. Unfortunately, which is unfortunate. Like, I'm not, he's typically, I guess he had a rough year he was in the championship last year, and then that was the whole issue with the DeMar Hamlin,
the Hamlin thing.
Choked, I would say, against Hodge. We wondered how he would bounce back, and then almost made it back to the championship this year. So he's a good owner. Like, he knows what he's doing. I do know a lot of other owners are wishing he was more active in the in trades, and he always comes in with a clean draft board. He doesn't really talk to many other owners outside of this. I mean, we see him outside of fantasy, but we don't I don't know. He's not doing much in this league. Honestly, I don't even know if he's seen the show. Let's be honest. And it's kind of it's kind of a rough look for a guy that's been in this league for a while, or as long as he has, and has been as competitive as he has been. His keepers, I think there's two that we're both in agreement that are good, and then one that has some question marks. CMC, we just talked about C Tizzle keeping a running back in the first round with Jahmyr Gibbs. CMC is a guy that you have to keep, especially if you're the back of the first. That makes a lot of sense. It worked out for him last year, and I think he's just trying to repeat that. And this is these might be the same keepers he had last year then, because I think he had Drake London in the fifth last year, and Drake London, I'm excited for that Falcons offense, but I know a lot of people have a lot of question marks around London, and just is he really worth a keep right now? Maybe not. I don't think Adam really had any other option though. That kind of goes to the point of Adam didn't really go keeper shopping. He hasn't really tried to get other options, replacement options. So I do think Drake London's a solid keeper. Not my favorite, but I do think he has a lot of potential. Again, I'm more in on the Falcons offense than I think some others are. And then A.J. Brown, last round keeper, has been great. He was the one who originally drafted A.J. Brown, and he's been riding him ever since. So obviously that's been great. And he's one of those owners that does not have a QB, so could be looking for a stack that's out there. Not going to name drop or anything, but we'll see what Adam's able to do in the draft. Unfortunately, he is not coming. He had been traditionally one of the more consistent guys in showing up for the draft, so it is unfortunate that he won't be here this year. But I think he's set up for a solid team. I don't really, again, keepers across the board. Every team look good, so it's more about what he does in the draft, and I hope he can focus, especially being away at the wedding. So that's something to keep in mind, where that could cause some issues with him, and this could be a tough draft for Adam. So we'll see.
Yeah, I was surprised he went Drake London. I thought he was going to keep Brock Purdy. I think a lot of people thought he was going to keep Brock Purdy. He was really good for him last year. A lot of people thought that was going to happen. I thought that was a lock. I mean, Purdy was the last pick of the draft. I mean, it's pretty good. You have him and A.J. Brown at the end, and you can do whatever you want in between. But yeah, as far as Adam not being active, Adam does respond back to trades. He's not seeking any trades out, because I don't think I think he feels, because Adam's a pretty confident guy. I think Adam feels like he doesn't need to do any trades, so he'd rather have a clean draft board than just do willy-nilly trades for no reason. which I do think there's a happy medium there. You don't have to do some of the trades that do go on in the league. Some of the trades are nonsense, but then you can do something. I mean, I'm not a big Drake London fan, but hey, I mean, some people are really high on the Falcons this year. I know you're a big Falcons guy this year, so Kirk Cousins could be that guy that we've been waiting to see Drake London be. Could maybe open that up for him. But yeah, I think Adams has shown pretty much since he's been in the league that he's like a team that will compete for the second to last weekend or the one of the last weekends of the fantasy season. He's proven that many times. I snuck by him in the semis last year, a really low-scoring game, 119-100. I snuck by that game. That was the Brock Purdy laid an egg on the against the Ravens on that Christmas Day game. Thank God. So yeah, I think Adams a team with McCaffrey, with AJ Brown. That's good enough for me to say that's a top 6 team. But I've pretty much said about every team so far. I'm being very nice tonight. I don't know why, but I am. Won't last long. Maybe I'll keep this up for next Saturday. I want good vibes. I want good vibes going into the draft next week. But yeah, so all right, Cobb, you got to go again. You got to talk about my team, which right now there's an asterisk going on right now. I'll let you talk about it.
Yeah, so we'll get to that in a second. Obviously, Dash, our commish, our main commish is got very close to ending this dynasty of Hodge. Unfortunately, fell a little bit short. I don't think anyone wanted to see Hodge win as much as he has lately. I think it's time for some new people to be crowned. Unfortunately, it wasn't last year. Hopefully, this is the year. And we're looking at some familiar faces with his keepers. We got Mahomes has always been the staple. Some might call him one of the best keepers in the league just based off of how just the success that you've had. I think you've consistently been in contention for a 1 seed or like a top 2 seed for a while. Always making playoffs while he's been your quarterback. And then Debo, obviously looking great. We don't know what's going to happen with Ayuk yet. I think there's rumors of either Steelers or he's going to stay in San Fran. Regardless, Debo should eat. He fits that offense so well. They want to feed him. And just another year of Purdy, I think will do wonders. And I think Debo did have some injury history. Based off of how he plays, it makes sense. But I don't think his injuries are the ones that we're worried about right now. The one that we are questioning is the Hollywood Brown. As you guys know, Dash did get him in a trade with Alex in the offseason. Was super excited for a new stack. He always loves these Chief stacks. He got one. And then Hollywood Brown got hurt in the game. Doesn't seem as serious as it could have been, but there is potential that he could be out for a little bit. So I think that's where the question rises where Dash is going to go, if he's going to stick with Hollywood Brown or if maybe he's going to think of a different keeper and get away from the risk. What are you thinking, man?
Yeah, so as of right now, we are in flux. So right now, we are keeping Patrick Mahomes and Deebo Samuel. The third keeper is we're waiting for more information to come in on the situation because we have plenty of guys still. We have Mike Evans, third round tender, which a lot of people think that the various pickup lines should head in that direction to say, you know what, let's say fuck it with this Hollywood Brown situation. We lost the trade. Let's get out of it. But the other people are saying, we traded a 4th round pick to get him. All right, and we're not just going to lose a 4th round pick for a guy we're not going to keep. I mean, just stupid. So yeah, it's a really hard situation because Hollywood Brown's been tearing it up all throughout camp. And first play of the game, he gets a target, catches a 13-yard pass, and then he fucking hurts his SC joint. I mean, fucking insane. I mean, like bad luck. I mean, we're talking about a guy. I give my life for this team, and all of a sudden, first play of preseason, my newest addition's out. They say it could be a 3 to 4 week thing. Thankfully, we're about 4 weeks away from the season starting. So if he does miss a game, if he doesn't miss any time, I think it'll be a game. But the thing was, Tyreek Hill was in the hospital. I just read this earlier. Tyreek Hill was in the hospital for 4 days after he had that injury, same injury. Hollywood Brown left this morning. So he wasn't there long at all. So that's a good thing, based on the severity of the injury. So, but I have till 11:59 a.m. on Saturday to declare if I'm going to move on from this Hollywood Brown situation. Which league bylaws, you can if one of your three keepers, if you locked in, is hurt, you can make a change. So up until draft time. So we have I have 6 days to think about this, and we're going to think about it very seriously. I think our teams, we have the draft assets. We don't have a first, but we have 2 seconds, or may as well be first round picks. I think we're gonna play hardball. I think we're gonna go back to our old ways of the stack. So I think Hollywood Brown might be staying on my team, but right now we're gonna leave it open. But we're excited for about the season. Mahomes and Debo are gonna do what they can to take us to the final weekend in fantasy, and hopefully win a second chip. Hopefully.
Second one's the best.
Second one is a good one. We've come very close many times.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna go to the reason why it's very hard for me to get my second chip. It's this guy who, if you look at his draft board there, looks like he's not even gonna be drafting till like round freaking like 7 or something like that. Round 4 looks like. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think his first one is round 4. Yeah, he's got multiple in round 4. And he's trying to trade those picks for future 2025 picks. So I might be calling his name to get back into round 4. But nonetheless. So Hotch, yeah, the guy three-peated this past year. Really sad to see. A lot of people in the league were really upset by it. A lot of people didn't like the way he acted at the draft last year. People thought he was too cocky. I thought he was pretty fun last year, to be quite honest with you. Him and I had a pretty good time. That's kind of the reason why I bought the timer, so I don't have to deal with the timer. I can just enjoy my enjoy my one-on-one with that kid. But yeah, he's got Jalen Waddle. Hodge is really buying into this whole Tyreek Hill's going to retire when his contract's up, and we saw that Tyreek Hill had an extension this offseason, so he got rid of him before that we got to see any of that. Traded his entire team for CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb, I think, is solid. Whether he stays in Dallas or goes elsewhere, he's going to be the number one guy wherever he goes, but I think he's going to stay in Dallas. And he was phenomenal last year. I mean, Tasia pretty much got into almost in the playoffs because of CeeDee Lamb. Jalen Waddle, I think, is great. He's injury prone. I have him in the Dynasty League. Kyler Murray, not the biggest fan of that keep at all. I know he's wanted to keep another guy. I didn't like that at all. I don't know if he's trying to tank this year, but Kyler Murray 20th is good. I just don't like that as a third keeper. He had a lot of better options than that he traded. He could have gotten better options than that. He didn't. He stuck with Kyler Murray in round 20. But the one thing I will say for teams that are looking at Hodge's team saying, "Oh yeah, he's packing and he doesn't think he's going to win this year," don't be fooled by him. I've been at drafts. A guy drafted fucking 8 quarterbacks in the first 10 rounds of the draft, but all rookies, and somehow I think he won the championship that year. So, don't be fooled by this guy. Please, don't be fooled by him. It's like Trump in 2016. Everyone thought it was a joke. I was making the dumb comments. Oh, man, oh, that guy's funny. That guy's never going to make it to the office. Well, guess what? This is Hodge. Hodge trades away his whole draft. Drafts bum the rookie guys in the early rounds, like Tank Bigsby types, and he still wins. Take this guy seriously, all right? Take him seriously. Don't look at that draft board and scoff at it. He'll be around. He'll be fucking hiding. He'll make the playoffs. His team can be shit. It's going to make the playoffs. And it might make the championship. And if he makes the championship, then all bets are off. He'll probably win it again for the 4th time. So, yeah, that's my take on Hodge. What is your take on Hodge as we wrap up the show here, buddy?
Same thing. It's just he only has 6 of his own picks. That's just what Hodge does. He causes chaos. He makes my life hell as the commission that's in charge of the draft board. The next closest owner is one. I think you and Tasia and maybe someone else have 11 of their own picks. So Hodge is just trading like crazy. I mean, you can see that draft board. It's wild. He loves trading his keepers away. I think he's been set on keepers for the last 2 or 3 years. He's had Jamar Chase. He's had Justin Jefferson. I think he originally had CeeDee Lamb and then traded him away. He loves change. I think it's because he gets bored that he's won this league 5 times, that he's making it interesting. He's never satisfied. He could have Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, and I don't know, Bijan Robinson in the last 3 rounds of the draft, he would do that for 1 year and then be done with it. He would trade. He just gets, I don't know, he just gets bored. It's. I will say it does make the league fun though. Makes it a lot more active. We see a lot of owner activity with Hotch. We know Roden only trades with Hotch right now, but Hotch does trade with a lot of other owners, which is nice. I have chats with him every offseason. I don't think there's been an offseason that I haven't made a trade with him. We just made a big trade recently. But yeah, I mean, Kyler Murray is a question mark for me too. I mean, he had so many better options, but Waddle and CeeDee Lamb, like he can do whatever. I am interested to see what his team ends up looking like with not picking till the fourth. But we did see a team like that last year with Yags, and Yags team sucked, but Yags wasn't ready. Hotch is very experienced, so we get to see what the difference. We get to see that difference play out. And we, like you said, like, don't sleep on this team. He's going to find sleepers somewhere. He's going to pick up every rookie he possibly can, and one or two of them is going to break out, and that's going to be a future trade asset for him. So, do I think he's going to make the playoffs? Probably, based off of past performance. I'm not letting my guard down, but I do think this might be the end of the. I don't know if we see a four-peat. I didn't think we would see a three-peat. But if there's a team that was going to do it, it's going to be Hodge. But I do think he's in a tough situation now. But I think he knows that too. But I don't think he's going to sleep coming into this season. So I'm excited to see. Obviously, love having him at the draft. But yeah, I don't know. I just keep looking at this fucking draft board, and always, every single year, I just see this little mess of just having to figure out where his picks are. It's always crazy.
I mean, he's already foregone, so he's not going to win this year. So he's banking it on next year, and I think he's already collected a good amount of picks for next year's draft, hasn't he?
Yeah, probably. Let's see.
Like he has my first, which is going to be like the 11 or 12.
1, 2, 3 trades that have future picks. You can see. Yeah.
Jesus.
He has a first. He has an extra 7th. He has a 2nd. He has a first. Oh wow, he is yours and Roden's first for next year.
Oh man,
Jesus, dude.
Well, mine's fine. Yeah, it's late first. It's early second. Roden's, that's a potential that could be anywhere. I'm not gonna shit on him, but it could be anywhere. Top 5. Yeah, I don't know. But so yeah, Hodge is a team to maybe not this year, but definitely he'll be back at some point. Yeah, like Voldemort. He'll be back. All right, well, that does it for us. We hope you guys enjoyed the first episode of the Cop and Dash Show. Obviously, there'll be no show next week because we'll be seeing you guys live and in person. We'll have a show the following week to discuss the roster and everything. But yeah, next week, no show. It'll be just a draft. So we're excited to see everybody. We hope everyone gets the Cobs around. Draft starts at noon. Try to get the Cobs at 11:30, 11. Cobb can show you around his new place, BL Plus HQ2. So yeah, it's gonna be a good time. I'm excited to see everybody. I hope everyone enjoyed our show. We'll see you guys in a week.
Yeah, see you guys then.
Take it easy, everybody. All right.